I have two more questions, and then we've got a couple of questions that have been fired in from people on the Chisholm Hunter page, of which there are legitimately hundreds, but we'll only go through a couple.
Okay.
I suppose I suppose I'm speaking purely more selfishly here, but as a young manager, I'm managing people and I've got a vision for where I want to take my business and the podcast and all these different avenues. What advice would you give me that you wish you had at my age?
I'm sure you don't need my advice. It rather depends, but I think if you're true to yourself, and you care about what you're doing and you care about the people you interact with, you're not going to go far wrong. It's and it's going to be all right. If I knew when I was 18 where I'd be now and the journey I'd have taken, I'd have been pretty happy. Of course, you never know. The other thing, and I think this is the fundamental thing that you need to retain, is curiosity. Always be curious. The moment you lose curiosity, the moment you start digging underneath things, being open-minded, then you lose sight of a lot. So always try and be curious. And that open-mindedness probably gets harder as you get older. So you have to, and as you get more successful, don't believe your own publicity. Be curious and be paranoid.
That's great advice. Thank you very much. I think you've given me a lot to think about there. The second question is, what do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned in your career so far?
Too many to recount. I think probably it's there's nothing that is insoluble. There's always a way through. You just have to work it out. And so when things are at their absolute worst, when the storm is at its peak, that's when you need to be your calmest.
Yeah, that's that actually reminds me of something that my dad, the CEO of Chisholm Hunter, said as well. It was during COVID, I think, and he was like, he said, despite everything going wrong, we've got 29 stores, they're all shut. He said, remain calm, because people will look at you for leadership, and if you're flapping, all of a sudden you have everyone flapping. But if you're calm and say, well, there's a way through, people will figure it out and they will follow you to whatever end. So I think that's fantastic advice.
Well, your father's a wise man, so.
I try to outsmart him sometimes, and it doesn't work.
One day you will.
Well, I hope.
And he'll be delighted.
Yeah, maybe one day. I've tried it a couple of times in the boardroom, and he always seems to get around me in a certain way. It's the years of experience. Okay, so we've got quite a few questions that have been fired in on the Chisholm Hunter Watches channel. JK_Mac_Aoda says, any chance of a shark white dial in a black bezel trident?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a chance, yeah.
There is a chance, okay. We'll leave it at that and keep that curiosity going. Let's see. Edward Murray 1 says, why should we choose CW over someone like Tudor?
You should go with what your instinct tells you, but I think I know that our quality matches up to Tudor. And therefore I know if everything else was equal, we are better value. But you may prefer a Tudor design. Go with the Tudor. But if you think something's equivalent, always come to us because you'll get better value.
Very good, very good. Cristiano997 says, are they planning on releasing more quartz watches?
Interesting question. We've recently launched a C63 Valor, which is one of our military watches, and it's gone down an absolute storm. So we are literally having conversations at the moment about what does this mean, and should we consider introducing high quality, as the Valor is, high quality quartz movements into more of our collections. So, or indeed creating a separate collection that could adopt quartz as part of its premise. So yeah, it's a very live discussion and debate, and I'd be very interested to hear people's views about that. So whoever asked the question, if they could let me know what they think, I'd be fascinated. Thank you.
Absolutely. And on a personal standpoint as well, I'd be very excited to see those kind of things coming through, the quartz movements coming through. I think quartz watches get a lot of stigma, especially amongst luxury watch enthusiasts, and I don't think they should. I think they're actually quite a brilliant thing. But that's just, I suppose, my point of view.
Well, that's good feedback. Thank you.
So next up we have 1059, and he says, if you had to do it all again, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? Not a lot, to be honest. It's been a really enjoyable journey. And as I said earlier, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. So I wouldn't want to go through a journey where it was too easy, because it wouldn't be as enjoyable a destination that you reached at the end. So in all honesty, there are many decisions that I would have probably changed in hindsight, mainly about people. But overall, I wouldn't change too much. And we're pretty happy with where we got to, and I'm pretty happy with where I am.
Amazing. Hal Greek Leo says, where do you see the brand in 20 years?
Who knows? I have no idea. All I know is that we've grown every year. We want to grow because our mission is just to try and have a Christopher Ward on everybody's wrist. And there's a big world out there. If we continue to make more good decisions than bad ones, if we continue to be able to ride our luck where we have some, then we should continue to grow. How big we can be, how long's a piece of string? I think we can be an enormous brand, because we set off with a mission to put a Christopher Ward on everybody's wrist. So, that means you have to be of a certain scale. Whether we get there, whether we don't get there, the important thing is that we try to get there, and we'll only keep growing if we keep, as I say, bringing out more and more watches that more and more people A, love, and B, can access. So you just keep trying hard. It goes back to Robert Townsend, that we try hard a bit. We have to try hard. We have to work hard. We have to, keep pushing boundaries. And if we're fortunate, we will continue to grow. And if we continue to grow, I honestly believe this can be a major, major, major brand in the world of watches.
I suppose it's that thing within business. It's the journey, not the destination. When I look at the sometimes horrible pieces, where I was working 48 hours on the trot, sitting at my laptop, editing. I didn't have an editor at that point. I didn't have a team around me. Actually, you look back at those memories and think, that was quite fun because it was so much adrenaline and it fueled you. And I think that's what people need to remember within business. Although there's tough times, that's what makes tough people. And that's what makes the best memories at the end of the day, right?
I agree. As you say, it's the journey rather than the destination. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I have to say, what an incredible journey Christopher Ward are on. I honestly, I've been watching the brand for a while, and as a watch enthusiast, but also being in business myself, it's fascinating to me, and I really, really appreciate your time, Mike, and all the advice and being so candid.
That's very kind of you, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.